Good.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Grant Cameron, and I want to thank everybody who's joining me for taking valuable time from your life to be with me today. I've got a wonderful guest today. Her name is Lightstar, and I interviewed her husband a couple of days ago, and she will be at an event that I'm going to be at, the Sedona Cosmic Awakening event at the end of April. I'll show you the screen in a second, but I'll just do a little bit of intro to what Lightstar's background is, and she has a lot of very interesting stuff that we want to go through. We'll do about an hour here, and we'll go through this. But Lightstar is a pioneering, internationally acclaimed high-frequency attunement artist, celestial channel, and starseed ambassador. She holds a doctorate, wow, in traditional naturopathy, a master in science in natural health, and a bachelor in science in sociology. She has also attained 8 additional certificates in the area of coaching, energy healing, and body work. So I'll leave it at that, but you've done a lot of stuff, and you've got a lot of training, which I sort of have run into. As you know, my background, I started out as a nuts and bolts guy with documents and all this kind of stuff, and chasing lights in the sky and stuff. And I've moved over to what they call the woo-woo side, and I say, well, I was sort of teleported there. And I firmly believe that it is in this field of the stuff that you are working on, your husband's working on, people, that this is where the answer is. You're not going to discover anything, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of watching things, in terms of technology, nuts and bolts. This is where the answer is. So I'm honored to have you on and to talk with you about what I think is really the nature of reality, and your background is sensational. So can you maybe talk about what you do for a living? And while you're doing that, I will put on the screen of the conference and basically talk about the conference and what you'll be talking about next month in Sedona.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on here as well. I'm really honored to be here. And yes, first of all, I guess we'll dive in, since we're talking about the conference in Sedona. And, usually when we do these conferences, I like to not have all my topics like dialed in. I don't practice what I'm going to do. It's kind of like how Stands with Bear talked about it too, where we just go with whatever spirit is going to bring. But I usually do have some kind of idea about what I want to share. And this year, I am going to, unless it changes, unless I get the download that it's got to change, but at the moment, I'm going to be speaking about our etheric med team. And the etherical med team, that's what I call it, is the etheric med team. And so I'm going to talk about what that is, and how some of my experiences about working with this etheric med team to provide assistance is actually really timely with what's going on. So that's why I felt like, and I had thought about this months before all this stuff happened, but I feel like it's important to share just the connection that we have with assistance in other realms that we can bring here to help us. So I'm going to share about that, some experiences. Usually I do light language activations at the conferences every year. I've done this, and it's different every time because the topic's different. So that's kind of what I'm going to bring. And then I'll leave the rest for just surprise about what happens, what comes, and all of that.
Wow. And you're actually in Sedona, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So you don't have far to go.
Right here.
And maybe talk
5 minutes.
We've got on the screen there, April 24th, 25th, 26th is the conference. Can you talk maybe a little bit about Sedona? And this is a unique place for people who have never been there. Some of the people who have sort of been in the field, it's like a pilgrimage. You got to go to Sedona. You got to be there. So maybe talk a bit for people who are not aware of the importance of Sedona.
Well, the energy of Sedona is really unique. We are situated in a vortex here. The whole entire city is a vortex. We have several little vortex areas, energy places that provide a lot of different experiences for people to have as well on the different types of vortexes. But Sedona in general is one big giant energy vortex. it's a unique place. Obviously, the beauty of Sedona is obvious because you come here and it's like living on another planet right here. Okay, you're like on Mars or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's really a unique spot, but the energy about it, living here, has its own. Uh, it's got a unique flavor to it because not everybody can really handle living here. You know, this area was not meant to be actually lived in. It was meant for natives to come in and have their vision quests and then leave and live outside of the city. So living here has its own, it's like living inside of a washing machine going round and round all the time. And you have to kind of get used to that energy. So sometimes when people visit here, they kind of feel that energy too. And, you know, you have to be ready for this place, I think. I almost moved here 30 years ago. I had an opportunity and I didn't at the time. So it was, for me, I was getting, now I look back on it and like, wow, full circle all the way back, but I wasn't ready for Sedona and Sedona probably wasn't ready for me or, you know, at the time.
Yeah.
So there is a certain synergy that comes into play when you live here, but it is a very special place. Everybody who comes here gets something, healing most likely, because most people come here for the healing experiences, but also we have so much hiking and outdoors stuff that happens here all the time, most even all year round, you know, with the exception of the winter time may get a little colder and then summertime is really hot, but we still have a lot of people coming here in the summer because it's hotter everywhere else.
Yeah.
So it's hot here, but every place else it's even hotter. So it's a really special place. I am really grateful to have been able to live here as long as I have, because it's going on almost 10 years for me. So it's quite a while for me. And I was in Colorado prior to this for about 15 years.
Which part of Colorado?
So
Boulder?
I was in near Boulder. I was right outside of Boulder in a town called Broomfield, but it's like 10 minutes and I was in Boulder all the time.
That's kind
And
of, I call it consciousness Colorado. It's kind of the same sort of
same vibe in a
vibe.
way, but what I found is the difference between the two that I feel is that it's funny. When I went to Colorado, has a lot of life to it. It's very lively, it's very active, there's a lot of variation going on, and I loved it for that. The beauty of Colorado is unparalleled. It's just this mountain range is, I was right by the Rocky Mountains, so you know, Boulder's got this beautiful view. But Sedona has a very much more of a, like when I got here, I felt like it decompression. I just felt like it was just this feeling where I settled in. So even though there's a lot of activity going on here, but it's not the same energy. It's very quieter. It's more subtle. It's more grounded, if you will, even. And it's just got a totally different vibe. But there are similarities. I'd say that, you know, the weather patterns are like, I mean, I always used to call Colorado being like bipolar weather, because it's like always changing, never can figure out what it is. The poor weather people cannot figure out how to do this, you know, like they always get it wrong because you're in the Rockies there, so it's very changeable. But I do feel they both have similarities in their weather patterns. It's just much more mild here in Sedona. You don't get the crazy huge snowstorms, blizzards, tornadoes, like, you know, you don't get any of that stuff. You get it like here, it's a little bit, but it's not half as extreme. So that's why I like it, because after 20 years of Colorado, I was kind of done with the bipolar weather.
And
So
it is a beautiful place. I've been there a couple of times.
it
And
is.
it's just wonderful. So what do you do for clients there? Like what?
Yeah. So, you know, and my background is kind of, just to go a little bit of backtracking, just from where I was in a very different industry. So now I'm doing all the spiritual work, but prior to this, I was in Colorado, and prior to that, I was in, most of the time in Colorado though, I was working for a forensic engineering company, construction, believe it or not,
Wow.
and environmental company.
Okay.
So you would probably never think that, but yeah, I was working with insurance adjusters, insurance agents, attorneys. I was in a whole different world. Now I was in marketing, so I was doing that kind of work, but primarily, you know, it was very, very engineering, you know, construction, like. And so I worked, but I had a great experience through that. I wouldn't say it's bad experience. It's just that it's different. But when I was ready to move and shift here, I wasn't planning to move to Sedona, mind you. I did not plan to move here. I didn't really necessarily want to, even though it was nice, but I was planning to go elsewhere. And Sedona has its own, it was finally ready for me. And so I ended up staying here longer than I expected. But so my transition was probably about 2009, 2008, 2009, when the market was crashing. Remember
Oh,
that?
yeah,
Everything was crashing. Everyone was losing their jobs. Everything was going crazy. Kind of like it is now, but in a different way,
yeah.
But it's at that point in time, I knew before that market crash, I was getting the intuitive nudge that it's time for me to move and do my spiritual work, but I didn't really know what that was at the time. So I kind of held on, we hold
Okay.
on to the stability job, and I didn't let go
Yeah.
until 2009 when it let me go.
Oh, wow.
And finally that happened. I mean, I stayed on for that job for as long as they could possibly keep me, but then they had their own troubles and had to let me go. And at that point, I was sort of hurled into, oh my God, what do I do? And I knew I had to shift, but I didn't know how. So I traversed my way kind of on the pilgrimage that people go on at the time when they're not sure. And I ended up in a roundabout way. I was only planning to stay in Sedona for a little while, and I ended up here longer. And I did a lot of healing work at first. And then when I did some healing work, I started to unfold, and all these things started to come out, which you see in the background here.
Yeah.
My artwork started to come out. I started to have more these light languages coming forth. I began to have experiences here. I mean, the nature of Sedona, we're in UFO land here. We're in a lot of, different things that were happening that opened up. And so I started to do psychic readings at the time in Uptown here in Sedona. Um, I was just starting to unfold and blossom into intuitive readings. I was having some artwork coming out, languages were coming in. It was like a whirlwind in the vortex here. And so that's kind of how it unfolded. And then now I'm actually doing this work I help people in session work. I do different types of sessions than I did then, but I'm doing work with a lot of Starseed and working with people, light workers, Starseed, people that want to understand who they are at a basic level. I'm very grounded, so I'm very starseed, but I'm also very grounded, very practical. So I like to give practical skills as well as journeys and experiences, and also information from people's soul origins, because I can look at that information. So I'll get different aspects of who people are, where they're from, from the spiritual perspectives, ETs, well, it's either the ET, angelic, or the elemental realms are generally who I'm seeing people's aspects unfolding. And so I'm helping people with that. I do energy healing as well with that. So I'm doing my light language chakra clearing. It's an exclusive kind of thing that I developed through this whole process, through my guides, through my higher self, through the languages, and to trying to unfold that whole package, which I know we want to talk about how that happened. It's like I was actually speaking one light language since I was 9 years old. So that did actually come in. But of course, when you're 9, like, you don't know what it is. You don't really understand it. A lot of people that I've talked to in this business, as I've been getting going through it, and other people who speak their own languages, have also said that, wow, I didn't know I was speaking that language and I didn't know what it was, when they were children. So it's but that's basically what I'm doing, is unfolding and unpacking, and it comes more and more and more. I swear, it's like, the things we do as you dive in and say, okay, I'm willing to be here for help humanity, right?
Yeah.
I'm here to do my part, and I'm here to finally do the spiritual work, unfold who I am, understand who I am and what I have to bring here. I help a lot of people with life purpose as well. And so it's just been an unfoldment of a lot of different things.
Wow.
And I've been really grateful to have been helping the people that I do and in the unique way that I do it in. It's not your standard everyday
Yeah.
type of work. Um,
Beautiful. Okay,
so
we're going to link all your site, and so people can find you, this sort of thing. Can you what you were saying led to two questions, and because you're sort of tapped into the field, you may have some knowledge that I don't have. How would you define a star seed? And do you think, like, when things happen, say when the market crashes and you get sort of thrown out there, do you think there's a sort of a force where you lose things on purpose for a reason? Do you think there's accidental
yes,
thing, or is it a random world?
I feel that question, I do feel that nothing is really random.
Yeah.
I mean, there are synchronicities that happen in our life at certain times and at certain places. And I was just talking to Stans with Bear about this the other day, where I was saying, like, we get opportunities, but sometimes we don't have to take them. At that time, we have free will. So we can actually say, I'm not ready, like, as in 30 years ago, opportunity to stay in Sedona. And I'm like, I don't think I'm ready for that yet. So we do have choice, okay? But you'll always get the opportunity again in another way, in a different timeline. So yeah, so let me go back to the first question, and then we'll go on with that one too. But what is a star seed is, in my experience or my view on it, is that it is beings that are here on Gaia, on Terra, however you would like to call it, here on Mother Earth, that we have come from other places, other universes, other galaxies, other planets, and that we've spent a lot of time on in our incarnations in other places. And we kind of congregate in certain areas that we like to come to. And Earth is one that is a great experiment, but it's also a wonderful experience here for us to raise the frequency of the planet, to help, as well as have our own experiences and to have our own to learn and grow in our own lessons that we're learning. So the star seeds are here, and they I feel star seeds have a lot of abilities, a lot of soul gifts that are bestowed upon all of us. Really, it's not just starseed. It's just that the starseed have a lot to unpack and unfold, and usually have a very strong mission here. And so that's kind of what I feel about the starseed and why we're here, is to help the planet, but to also have our own experiences and our own environments that we set up, and to meet with other people and other starborn too, to collectively come together, which is what I think a lot of us are doing now. And so that's kind of what I feel basically as a star seed. And so yeah, and I think that the second part of that question, when we have these experiences about what happens in our life and things fall apart and we think it's just the end of the world, or we just are so confused and we don't know what to do, is the time that we generally start to unfold some of those gifts and unpack some of those soul gifts that start to come forth. Why? Because you're, in a way, you're pushed or stretched. Think of it like a rubber band, right? You're stretched to do something beyond what you're comfortable with,
Yeah.
beyond what you feel maybe is within your realm of comfortability. And we don't necessarily grow so much without stepping out of our comfort zone. So it's important to realize that what appears to be something that's bad or something that's horrible, you lose your job, something happens, you break up with somebody, whatever these things happen, even health challenges, can be extremely valuable nuggets of information that are trying to actually put us onto a different path, or to divert our path into something else when you're ready, like the alarm clock that's going off that says your time is now, and to the 1111, the number 1111 that we always see, and a lot of people have seen for many, many years, along with the other numbers, but that one is very much of a starseed alarm clock. That's really what it is. That's what I feel it is.
My partner's big into 333. So
Yes.
or
Well,
it's just a three number. So
it's
three number
funny.
333. What do you see about that?
It's funny, I just yesterday I saw, and this happens to me quite often, I saw 333 on the clock, The next hour I saw 444, and the next hour after that I saw 555. So that'll happen to me, and occasionally, and that means to me there's a lot of stuff going on. Like I feel you're really getting a download at that point, where something's really coming in, and you really need to be on point or on target with something. And so it's like this: every time you look at it, a number on the clock that's like that, whether it's 111, 222, 333. We were like talking, and we're like, hey, there's no 777 on the clock. Or you can't go past certain numbers on the clock, but there's certain numbers that are awakening us and to get on our path. The 333 to me is like triple creativity. So it's usually, I mean, it's not always, I guess, for different people, but I feel that number has a resonance with ideas, inventions, also communication, and also creativity that flows in. So it may be something that, hey, time to get on that project, or hey, there's a creative project waiting for you, or something like that for you, or an idea that is coming in right now that is really important to take a look at. So, or if you're in the midst of something, you're in some project, and then you see 333, it's like, well, there's something to that. Like, to really pay attention to what you were, it's not always just what you were thinking at the time, because sometimes it's like an activation. Like literally, we've seen it all. Our eye just goes there. Like, why do we go there at that time? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And it feels like it's an activation for all of us. And yeah, the numbers are fascinating.
the other night, as you know, I interviewed Stands with Bear, and I was saying to him, and I'll say to you, I mean, you two have such an immense amounts of knowledge. I was saying to him, you guys must have really incredible conversations during dinner time or whatever, because you're both sort of way ahead of sort of the curve. How did you two meet?
That's
Can you
funny.
relate that story? How you?
Oh, we had a really interesting way. I think that when we first met here, the universe, our guides were kind of veiling us, putting veils over to us, because we just met a bit more as friends, I guess you would say, first. But it really was a really roundabout way, because I was thinking about getting a roommate at the time. Just, I didn't really want a roommate, but I was like, maybe I should get a roommate. And I was inquiring about it to a friend, and I think I went to a reader up in Uptown, and she was saying, hey, I know of this flute player who is looking for a room or something. And I was like, okay, well, I'll take his number, but I never called him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't want to have a roommate, but I was like, I know I'm asking, but then I was like, oh, I don't really. But a roundabout way is that I went to a group here in town in Sedona. It was like a meditation group or some kind of group. And I got involved with that group a little bit. And one time on Thanksgiving, he ended up showing up there at that group. I didn't know who he was, but he came with a friend. And at that time, his friend was introducing us and all that. And I was like, flute player, wait, his name. And I was put the two and two together in my mind, but I never told him. I never said anything about it. I still was like, whatever, didn't say anything about it. And it was a really, I mean, I had a long story here, but it like literally led to that, where I kept saying no, no, and then it just kept coming back, like every time, it seems like. And so it ended up being, he was actually going to go to England at the time. He was going to be moving there. And in the group, we ended up talking. He was like, well, ended up going there, but he needed a place to stay temporarily just before he left. So he came and stayed here as a temporary roommate, because I thought, oh, that's a good idea, because then it's not long term. It's just, come and then go. And then I'll get used to having the roommate again, whatever. So he came and stayed for 4 months, and it ended up where he didn't end up going. We ended up just being friends at that time. While he was here, there was no indication that there was anything that was going to happen there. And it literally, I think that our guides like unveiled us one day, where he ended up not going to England at that point in time to move there. He did end up going later, but so when he didn't go to England, he ended up staying here longer. And it was literally one day I came home from somewhere. I was out with a group, I think. And then it was like on Valentine's Day, I think it was. And he came in the door, and I'm like, do you want to watch a movie? And he's like, yeah. And it was like, it was this total synergy that turned around. Like literally the veils came off and we had an experience together where we realized even that we had a past life that was very, very powerful. It was one of our native lives together.
Wow.
And we ended up speaking. It's funny, we were both speaking these languages together that night to each other, and it was a really unfoldment. And from then on, it's like almost been, gosh, I think it's been 9 years, maybe
Wow.
7 years, something, almost 9 years we've been together.
That's a powerful.
So yeah, it's really, I mean, there's a lot more nuances to
Yeah.
that, but that could be another hour talking about it. But it was a really interesting way it happened. Not like your normal sparks flying, chemistry everywhere. It was more like friends first, and then this whole shift and unfoldment. But we have a lot of things in common as far as we're very different people, completely opposite people, but we have a lot of the same goals about values and what we're doing for our work. So we've blended our work together as well. And we did over the course of years, and now we have it's our activational co-creative therapy session that we do together, even though we do our own separate work. So we've learned how to synergistically blend our gifts together in that way. It's been really, really awesome.
Wow. And he talks about your ability to sort of learn anything and the talents you have. And one of the talents you have, of course, we want to get into this, is your art, which just is stunning. You
Yeah.
have oracle cards. Can you talk about those first?
Yeah,
You developed
well,
oracle.
the artwork actually started coming while I was here in Sedona, and as it started to come out more and more and more, I started to realize, hey, this is really meant to be in an oracle deck. It's like the information coming. So, my oracle deck was really, I mean, I kind of always thought it would be, but I didn't know how it was going to happen, and I certainly didn't know that I would be with a publisher, eventually. That was a question whether I was going to do that or not. And I did. I mean, it has its own drawbacks, obviously, with publishing with a traditional publisher. It's really not for the money, that's for dang sure. It's more for just getting the deck out to more people and to promote it out to the world. That's really what it was for. So, and I'm working on everything since my first deck is going to be in my second deck, which I have a deadline of the end of this year to at least get them in the materials. So that'll be out in the next couple of years, will be a second deck.
Can you explain oracle deck for people in terms of what
Yeah.
it can do?
Well, my deck is called an oracle deck, which it can be used for in several different ways. Mine's also an activator deck, so it can be used in a different way than probably a normal oracle. But it's mainly for people that want to get insights into their lives and answers to some of these things in our lives as well. Questions that we have: what should I do? What's the energy about this? And you use these cards in a certain sequence of either laying them out on a certain way. I have a couple of unique layouts that are in my guidebook that are different than the standard, but you can do them however you want. And you can ask certain questions and then see. It's more about, I created it for building people's intuition. They're building their own intuition, not really so much for like, telling you what to do, but more connecting with your own higher self and your guides and your angels and all the beings of light and getting your own information. It helps to build that muscle. So that's why I created mine. But they can also be used as activator layouts in mine. So you can take the cards, lay them out in certain formations, and then you could, like, one's for healing, one's for relationships, and one's for money tree, or money. So you can do that with my cards and add crystals and candles and activate the energy of it and use them that way too. So they're twofold ways to use them. People are really, really liking this deck. I'm really honored that I get so much feedback that people are really like, it's a unique deck. I mean, there's even the publisher was he was showing the new art that I have to go into the new deck, and he said everyone was just like amazed. They were just like cocked their head to one side, and they're like, "There's something about your deck," and I'm like, it's really the more than the artwork, it's the energy that's behind it, because it comes just from a different place. I mean, I'm just the tool here, the vessel, but it's just really coming from a whole different place.
I found that with your art. When I looked at your art, I went,
Yes,
"Whoa, wow!" It's like it is
particularly
something
that
else.
stuff.
In do you do courses? Do you train like in terms of like whether it's Oracle deck channeling, or do you do any sort
Mhm.
of courses with people in terms of?
I have
Yeah.
I do have a light language foundations audio class,
Oh,
which
is that
is
right?
all audio. Okay, so it's all MP3 files, and you can download the MP3 files. It talks all about light language, what it is, what the purpose is, how you use it, what it's for, and it also provides a healing experience in there. It's the same exact. It's like a 45-minute light language chakra clearing plus a 25-minute version in there that's like a shorter version that is interactive to where you can start to get your own light language going or your own tones, and it has some other goodies in there as well. So it's kind of a half light language class, half really powerful healing. It's the same one that I do in my phase 2 sessions of my starseed alignment sessions. It's just a general longer version, and it's also, you know, got music and stuff in it. So I do have that as far as a class goes. I will be doing some more of that in the future, and probably some online types of things in the future as well. But right now, my sessions have been booking up a couple of months ahead, and I've been extremely busy with that. Plus, you know, my art, trying to get the stuff with the Oracle deck, and then custom art that I do for clients as well. Because I
Wow.
will take custom art, either a visionary art portrait where I'll take the person's picture and then elvenize them or make them into a whatever, and then create a whole scene. Or I create custom codes that I draw, symbols and light codes that are coming around people's field, and I'll create a energy signature light code art just for them. So I
Unbelievable.
have different types, and then I have a life path code, which is like 4 quadrants of like someone's life. So I have a lot of different types of products, types of sessions. And so I'm usually pretty busy with doing that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens with the classes and how that develops, because, but I do have, it's a one-on-one at the moment. It is it's called my Sacred Keys Acceleration System. And it is a series of 12 sacred keys. Each one's on a different topic, and it is a one-on-one kind of thing. So I have those, and my newest healing shield attunement sessions, which are really getting to be popular. And that's where I take, I've made 7 healing shields in my artwork, and I will take those shields. They were for specific purposes, for the spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, all different layers. And I work with people to attune them to those shields and learn how to work with them. So it's really helpful for people, and those are one-on-one sessions as well, but they're teaching people also how to utilize these things to shield yourself from all the negative stuff out in the world. And the psychic shield, which heals you or helps to shield you from some of the negative thoughts and things that happen in our world, or some other things. So lots of different things to choose from.
Oh my goodness. My partner Desta will I think she'll be pretty upset that she didn't. I messed up the link. Otherwise, she would be here. She would have a million questions for you. She's
Oh, that's
you'll
okay.
probably be hearing from her. Uh,
Oh, cool.
you're talking about light languages. I mean,
Yes.
as I sort of point out, I have a bunch of interviews now with light language people. I only
Mm-hmm.
sort of learned about this a couple of years ago when Mary Rodwell
Yeah.
did a presentation to a group that I run here in Winnipeg, and she was talking about her little children, and they were doing these light languages, and I was sort of going like, "What?" Because I've been in this
What?
for 45
Yeah.
years, and I had
Right.
never heard about this until maybe 3 years ago. And then I noticed there was people in the room, and they seemed to like. I'm looking at them, and they knew what they were talking about. So, can you explain like where
Yeah.
does light language come from? What is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And because it seems to be coming into the forefront,
More.
almost like the
Yeah.
veil. It's come through the veil now.
Yeah.
It seems to be all over the place. So explain your understanding of light language, when it started for you, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
you can maybe do some light language so people know
Yeah.
what we're talking about. And you do
Yeah.
languages, correct?
I do, but well, I have about 20 or so that I have at the moment, but I don't usually do all of those, depending on, you know, it's like a
Are
lot
these
that
from
come in.
different civilizations, or where they?
Yeah, I've identified, I'd say I have identified most of those
Oh,
as far as where they're from. I had a series of, well, like I said, I had one language that I was speaking since I was 9, what I call my mother tongue, That's what I call it, is
Okay.
the mother tongue. It's usually the first, most innate one that comes out for someone. And, but that was when I was 9, but I had a period of time when I was much older though, that I had like a download that was coming in. So many languages were coming in a 2-week period. And I didn't know what was happening, but I had to just record them. I started recording. It was happening in the shower while I was trying to sleep. It was like really disruptive, but it was a huge download of information, and all these languages started coming in. I then went back and started to tune in and intuit some of the languages. And I wanted to personally know, well, where are they from? Like, what am I getting here? And so that's how I flowed with the information to develop my light language chakra clearing, which then led into which chakras are associated with which languages and which help to clear. So from my experience in like light language, it is an energy language. It's really more connected as far as what I'm providing. It's more connected to your feeling sense, to the energy of what you're experiencing, not so much about what are you saying, like in terms of, because how I explain this is it's like high frequency energies. And then if you try to squeeze that high frequency down into our filter, into our 3D, and into all these languages that we have here, like English, French, German,
Yep.
Spanish, it dilutes some of that energy because it's not a 3D language per se. Some of them may sound like that, but they're more energy frequencies. Some of them are transmissions. And so it's not to be really interpreted in the same exact way. Now, I know for myself, I have an aspect of myself that does do like more translations, more diplomatic relations in another realm, like as in another realm. But when I'm bringing that here and it started to bring here, I was starting to shift it to where it's not translation so much, it's more healing and it's more energy, because we have to have a bridge first, right? We got to have the bridge to know, what is this? What are we experiencing? And that's kind of where I'm bringing it. So my guides told me to stop doing translations so much at the moment. It may start up again, but at the moment it said, because we want people to experience what they're experiencing. And if I have 4 people in front of me and I speak a light language, 4 people might have 4 different interpretations from what I said because of the way that it's coming through for them. So rather than distort that message, I just decided to kind of keep it. I know what the overall message is coming through, but I don't go word for word. There's only a few. One of the Orions give me a phrase that is word for word, but that's really rare at the moment. And not to say that there aren't people doing in translations, because some people are doing that. Like you speak it and then you say it in English or French or whatever.
Yeah.
That's probably perfectly acceptable too. It's just that my guides, they were just saying, let's have people have the experiences and see what they come up with for themselves, because it's like we're not supposed to be directing people at what this means for them, but the overall is what I do get. So I've decided that's where I'm bringing it at this moment and in this time. And I really started to decipher them from where they're coming from the energy. So the energy is everything with these languages. And the first one, the Arcturian, came through, it was really more of a transmission. It didn't even sound like a language. It was more like a transmission that was coming through. So I can't even really tell you this day, and they may speak different languages. And most of these races are really going to be telepathic anyway. So for me to say that's what it sounds like, it's like, well, we have different sounds that come out of our mouths here based upon what our teeth and our tongue do. Well, some of these races have totally different structures. And so it's hard to do it, because it's not the same as what we would utilize. So I try to bring the ones that I can through that have sounds that would kind of sound like it, but it's really the energy transmission behind it. That's the most important thing. So it's a fascinating thing that I feel like it's coming through more and more and more right now, because we are moving into a different realm where things are more feeling sense. We're starting to sense more. We need to use our energy more than we ever have. And so that's why I think some of this is unveiling. Some of these things are all of this stuff is activating. The stuff I do is activating people. I mean, I have so many comments from my YouTube videos on the channel on the activations that I do, people having all kinds of experiences. And I know even just the other day, I got a beautiful message that someone left me, the voice message they put on my social media channels about how my work, they haven't even had a session with me, just my activations on YouTube have changed their life and saved. She even said, I won't go into it, she just says saved her life, like from literally. So there's some powerful stuff that's happening with this. We can't always explain it away from this analytical mind that wants to understand every single iota of every little bit and let's dissect it and let's figure it out. Sometimes you just have to experience and let it be, because it goes beyond. It activates DNA, it activates awakenings to happen, it shifts the energy. I mean, I've done a video of all the different experiences that people will have from light language as well. So it kind of helps with some of the things I've noticed over the years of people having these experiences, so they know what they might experience, although it's different for everyone. But typically, I do see a very common thread of a sensation, like either opening or a tingling, or like a, you know, the stuff you get down your spine that kind of like trickles down your spine. That is really common, and it's really bypassing it's going to the core of us, to the soul of us. And I think when we get to the soul and the heart and the energetics of us, it bypasses all the mental stuff. Like you can't explain it, you know, in that way. And so I feel like that's why I want to have people have these experiences to understand a little bit more about it from that place before we start saying this means that, you know, that means this. Plus a lot of them isn't really translatable anyway. It's like I said, it goes so fast. My native tongue, my mother tongue is so fast. I can't even do it as fast as it's supposed to be because my limitation with my mouth and speech, but it goes really, really rapid.
Wow.
And it's so it depends on, some of them are slower, some of them are faster. Some of them have a more tangible, grounded feelings. Some of them are more airy and light. It's all different. But I do want to get across to people that most of these beings are more highly developed, highly intelligent, and they do know telepathy. We are just now in the human suit starting to understand telepathy.
Yeah.
But we have a long way to go, but we're starting to open the door. And a lot of us already have that. We've already had it. We're just having to like kind of utilize it a little bit further than we have, and stretching that rubber band.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you're talking about beings, so we're talking about, say, soul guides, ET beings. How do you see the structure of that world? I mean, are they all the same sort of beings in terms of coming with a different mask or different?
They're all different. I mean, I know from the beings that I'm bringing through, like in my artwork, I did I think there's 10 of the star people from different races, Arcturian, Andromedan, Pleiadian, and I'm only doing one. So I want people to understand that they all don't look exactly like that, all of them, every single, you know, it's like there's going to be variation, but they are all different in some ways. There's a lot of similarities. Some of them do cross over and very similar, but in my experience, there's quite a few human, you know, I think we've heard this, a lot of them are human, but there are the ones that didn't look human to me, you know, as far as like my interaction. And I have a interesting way that they come because I'm doing them like a portrait, right? So they stand in line. They're coming in line like, okay, I'm next. And
Wow.
yeah, it's like I've had some of them cut in line. I had the dragon one that I did of the dragon codes. It's called Valion, the Wisdom Keeper. And that one, it just came right in because it was important information. And wanted that, not in a rude way, but just kind of like, this is kind of taking precedence over that. So let's do this one first, you know, and it's just the way that they come through. When I was doing the mer people, I had a dream about mermaids and they gave me a mermaid name. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. You know, I'd never really had a big thing about mermaids, but I was like, wow. And then after that dream, I kept running into people at the store that would talk about mermaids. All of a sudden I'd be like, what is this mermaid thing? And I'm like, oh, okay, you guys want me to do a mermaid picture or mer people. So I like, oh, I could have had a V8. Like, I get it, why you're all of a sudden coming around. So I have to pay attention to who's in the field and who wants to come next. But I said it, I did about 10 or so of the star people and the ET people. And there's so much out there. We don't even all know all the different races that are out there, but some of them I think a lot of us have been having interactions with. And so those are some of the ones I've done.
Do they work with your soul guides, and is there an interaction between all the different types of people, that sort of the entities that are guiding you and moving you along on your path?
I think that, you know, for me, and I have experience with the med team, which I'm going to talk about too, which some of them are from the different realms. Some of them are from the elemental realms. Some of them are coming from the ET races, but I have more interaction, again, from my art, because that's the primary way and why I'm interacting with them too. But my primary through dreams, I get a lot of content through my dream time. And I also get, it's not like they're necessarily showing up in my, you know, living room. Like some people have had that experience. Personally, I get a lot of things happen to me in the middle of the night through my dream time that I don't always recall, but sometimes it'll be in waking state. I'll just have a vision. The dragon energy did come in a waking state, like right there. So some of them will like come in, but I'm very visual with the third eye more, so I will see it with that level first. And they will interact with me and I hear what they're saying, or I will generally feel the energy first, because that's what we all should be doing is, you know, testing the energy, because, you know, we've got a lot of stuff out there. So we test the energy and I only let the vibrations in that are the highest frequencies of love, because otherwise they're not allowed in the field. And that's just the boundary that I think all of us should put up, because there's a lot of stuff out there that we don't want to be messing with. And so I think that we all have different experiences with these different ETs and the elementals or the angels or whoever, because we are unfolding in different ways. Our star family of those of that which we are from and have parts in us like of that are here to help us. And so they will come through in different ways. But I do also feel they connect with our higher self first. So they will connect in that way. So it's either a higher self or through dream time. But I understand that people will have experiences like real tangible experiences that that's not my area of expertise, so I would leave that to other people. I just know the certain things that I have memories of, or things that I wake up in the morning and I know I've been somewhere, you know, and I know that that's what's happened. And especially some of the things that we all have markings on our bodies that we wake up in the morning. How did that happen?
You've had that too?
Yes. I went to sleep, nothing, and then you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm in my bed. Like, how could that have shown up on my physical body? So a lot of things that happen to us that we don't always have our recollected memory of, that are happening. And a lot of it is, it's not all bad stuff either. These are our star friends, our star family, I feel. A lot of them when we call the implants, a lot of those implants are just them keeping tabs on us, you know, and I work with my medical team a lot. So that started happening even more. I'll talk about that at a conference, but it started happening more when I worked with my medical team. So I know that there's a relationship between that and how they're helping us. Biggest thing is they can't take away our free will. So nobody can take away your free will on that.
Okay. One last question before we dazzle everybody with your artwork.
Oh.
Do you believe that people, I have a high level Hollywood guy who has some pretty high level contact. And he told me that what he was told is that when you are interacted with, they sort of look in your mind to see
Mm.
where you are. And if you're in fear, they're going to use fear to teach you. And if you're in love, they're going to use love. Do you think, how much do you think we manifest the types of beings that we are producing?
Well, I think that we can manifest, I suppose, anything, because our mind can create like all sorts of stuff, right? So I think discernment is one of the biggest things that I feel we're learning here, as far as especially all of us going through this, is to be very discerning about what is coming through. So when you're feeling something or something's coming through, I always tell people, ask what, feel into it with your heart, most specifically. Your heart is going to be the thing that's going to bypass the fear, first of all, enough for you to actually feel the energy. And one thing we always say too is that if you send out love from your heart to a being, whether it be a physical being or somebody else, if you send that love out from your heart and you don't receive it back tenfold, it's probably not going to be somebody, it's going to be a fear-based being that doesn't understand love or hasn't gotten to that level. So that's where the boundaries go up.
Okay.
And we say, okay, I don't let that into the field. Doesn't mean that I don't experience it, or just someone doesn't come knocking on the door sometimes, because they all do. But I always say, if you have somebody knocks on your door and you don't know who they are, and you're going to open the door, aren't you going to ask them, oh, well, who are you and what do you want?
Yeah.
Right? You're going to feel it out. You're going to sense it. And if you feel an energy, you're not going to let that person in. Most of the time, you're not going to let them in anyway. But that's okay. That's how we all have to be discerning and not creating from a place of fear because we see a being that looks like alien and we're like, that doesn't look like us.
Yeah.
To not be in fear of just the way it appears. We have to go beyond appearances, and the heart is the barometer of that bypassing. So the heart is going to be able to tell you. And yes, these beings, a lot of them that are coming from a very high, benevolent, loving place, are going to respect your boundaries. So whenever you see somebody coming in and they go into fear and then it leads you into fear, and then now you're in this like fear mode, that is not a being who is understanding and loving you from that place. Now I understand they don't all understand our customs and things of that nature, but the fear stuff we can learn, and that's where I think we're learning is a lot of us are getting these experiences with the different ETs to test it out. They're learning from us, we're learning from them. It's a two-way street. So we have to understand the different customs, the different things that will trigger them, whether you just put your hand out for a handshake, it might be a different sign altogether for them, and it could be whatever, but we have to learn to discern.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel we are all learning.
Beautiful. Okay, let's. Can you take over the screen and let's go to your
Okay.
your paintings? And you sell prints of this stuff, correct?
Yeah, I sell prints and metal prints and photo prints and all different kinds of prints. So
Spectacular. The thing that I first noticed about yours is almost like the colors that
yeah,
almost like
vibrant colors.
ayahuasca. You sometimes see with the ayahuasca paintings, the unbelievable, almost like these colors don't exist on Earth.
Yes,
How
and
did you come to these colors?
that's exactly right. Because I feel like I tap into colors that are beyond, even though they're yes colors, but when you go into it, and all without the ayahuasca, mind you, because
Yeah.
I don't do that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I'm tapping into this area of
Yeah.
space. But it's these are beyond, and they are to show us that there's more dimensionally beyond what we think we are seeing. So this is my art gallery, and this is like just the front page of the art gallery. So I'm gonna scroll down to where all the beings are. So this is my galactic and my star code art. So I've got a couple of different races here and a few different versions here where I've got, Andromeda, Arcturus, or from Arcturus, and this is Ashtar and Athena, my version. There's version 1 and 2. Cassiopeia, Galactic Dream Star, that actually works with your dream time. It's a really powerful one. And then we've got Lyra, Genesis Activation, Orion Magical Creation, Sirius Solar Empowerment, Pleiades Star Angel, Telos Crystal Avatar, the Alliance, which is a picture of a conglomeration of the ETs, elementals, angels, kind of energy, Vega Fearless Journey, and Zeta Spiritual Expansion. This is my newest one from the Zetas that I felt were needing to be in the mix here. And to explain, I did a whole video on explaining the Zeta, and that's one that I think people will have a lot of fear from, but my information from them, because this is a hybrid type, is not coming from fear whatsoever. And so that's kind of clarifying some of the reasons where they're coming from to understand them a little better. Some of the beings come through just for that reason. They want to share some of their experiences so we understand them better. And so that's kind of some of the, I don't know if you want to see any of these, or can you see them pretty well?
Yeah. Maybe open up one so we can see.
Which one do you want to see?
Scroll down. Let's this one with the at the top of the screen right now in the middle. If you can pull that one.
This one?
No, there, yeah.
This is Orion, Magical Creation. This is another race that gets a bad rap. Let's just say Orions are usually looked at as negative beings, but in the sense that, and then this is just one representation of them, where they might look a little bit more intense, but yet they are coming from a very high place. At least, and there are negatively-based Orions. Yes, there are Orions that have been sideswiped. There are Orions that are in negative factions. Yes, just like there are humans that are negative factions. But the ones that I bring through are actually just more of what I call the original Orions. That's what these are. They have, they're more like the original druids on our planet. That's how I see them, and that's where they came from, as the Orion race really seeded the druids on our planet, a lot of them. And so that's kind of a really fascinating one right there.
Let me ask you some questions about this. You have the triangle in there.
Oh, yes.
Is a triangle, and you have the symbols as well. If you're familiar with the, I don't know if you know the story with the girl in the aerial school, Emily Trim. She was the one that got the download. The being was right in front of her, and she had this rapid image cycling where they're sending these messages at a very high rate of speed into her. And she now paints. I think she's done 100 and some paintings, and they all have the symbols. So how many of your have these?
Let's see. The symbols are in pretty much my codes. All the symbols or light language is going to be in all of my new work since my first Oracle deck. So just so you know, all of these are going to have the symbols and codes. You can see the symbols and codes in them. I also have there's the angel one that I just created, which actually has the angel codes in there, symbols. So they have a lot of the symbols in them. Most of them have symbols, the newest ones, I should say.
And are these activating? So they're actual symbols will activate?
Yeah, they're activational. They also come along with the energy of what the image represents. This is a light body spectra, so this has a lot of codes and things in there for blending the chakra systems. And so they will activate in certain ways, in different ways for different people. This is I just finished a few of them. I haven't even put that one out yet. I mean, it's up here, but you're seeing it before I've even told anybody it's available. Right here.
How does it take to do something like this?
This is really cool. I want to show you this because this is my newest one. It's called Orb Healing. And I have to tell you, this picture right here, what does it look like? In that picture right there, it's an angel cloud, and it has orbs. These are actually from a picture that I took, an actual picture with that angel cloud, and there are orbs that I did not retouch except for to bring them into this, and I colored it a little bit in the background just for the picture to be more blue. But otherwise, I did not touch the cloud or the actual, these are real orbs.
Wow.
So people don't think they exist. And then, of course, I embellished it with the codes and everything and the symbols.
What's your take on orbs? How would you?
The ones that I've been coming across and have this, because look at that concentric circles in the middle. You can't make that up. but I feel these are healing orbs. Okay. From my experience, there's different types of spheres, different types of orbs that actually do maybe different things. The ones that I've been in touch with here, contact with, is the healing orb. So they do help us. They help us heal. And these are, we see pictures. This was in the broad daylight. The actual picture I took was broad daylight. It wasn't at night, which usually you see people taking the night pictures and there's just tons of orbs everywhere. But these are, and I love them because you see the little twin one. I did not make that up. That twin right there is here too. It was like that. And so these are like linked, and they have sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is really big for us, and we're starting to understand that now, that through sacred geometry is healing, is creation. So we create in sacred geometry and sound before things get manifested here. So I think the orbs are also here to assist us. They also help to absorb negative energies, they don't have the same structure that we do. That's not like they're human based, but they have structures in them that actually have codes from different races, different places. And so they're able to heal and able to recognize that and to absorb negative energies. It's almost like Pac-Man, Pac-Man, like eating the negative energies. It's really fascinating. So anyway, you get to see one that, depending on when someone's watching this, but right now I haven't even told anybody it's there.
Should be up this weekend. We're going to put it up right away.
It'll be that'll be kind of that's my most recent one. Just as a glimpse, this is my etheric med team picture that I was talking about.
And explain who they are.
This is a conglomeration of a med team. Okay. Cause since this is out for the world, I'm not going to put my med team here, but I will put some elements of that, but these are beings. So as you can see, there's beings from all over. This is more of your kind of druidic type. We've got elemental energy, like elven energy. We have more of a Pleiadian. We have more of a ET being. These are all part of people's med team, the access that we have to the med team. So it's, and this is where I'm saying it's kind of more a healing image, but my next deck, with you see all the images coming out, these are all going to be for healing. So the next deck is going to be focused on a lot of the healing. But I have so many. I mean, it's like ridiculous. I've got unicorns and dragons. This is a really fascinating one. This is my Atlantean galleries.
Wow.
The Atlantean galleries. And I had a dream, very specific dream, that showed this underwater tunnel that goes to all these different libraries that house in different places. And this is an intergalactic type of thing. So it's similar, has the Atlantis feel, but it also has intergalactic energies. So we've got, all frequency codes in here. It's pretty intense, but it's, that's a 20 by 50. So some of these are panoramic sizes like that one. My healing shields I talked about, these are the healing shields, 7 of them. So they are really potent, really powerful. Like I said, for all different reasons. This is purification healing shield for the codes and symbols for working on your physical body.
There, absolutely.
Really, yeah, I love going deep with the color stuff, the color spectrums, and they all have different color spectrums depending upon. It goes a little bit beyond the chakras here with the healing shields, and they're much more. This one's really cool because this is the Ascension Healing Shield, for those people who are interested in ascension and spiritual practices. Wow. And then we have the Galactic, it's really called the Guardian Healing Shield, but it goes to the galactic realms. And so that's really powerful, that whole series. I have another couple of series I'm starting, but I have only done 2 so far. These are going along with the solfeggio tones. So these are like, this one's 639 hertz energetically. They're more simplistic, like one tone, if you were to
so what's 639? Because you hear that in music.
That's the heart. Yeah, it's a solfeggio tone, 639 frequency or hertz, and it connects with the heart and the heart energies of the heart. I'm going to do 7 total, but the only 2 I've done so far, these 2. This is 417 hertz, which is the clarity healing code, having to do with clarity. There's a lot of them that I'm gonna
Now,
pull
are
out
you
from
are
the
you given
seven.
that like is that a like a noetic thing where you're given that the different codes?
Well, these are symbols that, like, solfeggio tones are actually out there. Like, everybody knows, not everybody knows
I
what they
mean,
are, but they're frequent. Here it is, actually right here on screen. Okay. Solfeggio frequencies make up the ancient 6-tone scale that have thought to be used in sacred music, including the beautiful Gregorian chants.
okay, yeah,
So the chants like that and the special tones are believed to impart spiritual blessings when sung in harmony. Each solfeggio tone comprised of a frequency required to balance your energy and keep your body, mind, and spirit in perfect unison. So generally speaking, they're one code, but they can be used together that actually activate or help to heal in certain ways. There's one on DNA. There's like, I think there's 7 to 9 from what I understand. There may be more than that, but the main 7 to 9. They're very powerful codes when you hear them, like hearing them being played. But I wanted to have a visual
yeah,
along with some of them. So that's what I'm
wow,
creating there.
yeah. I did
And
do a book
then,
on music, and they talked about the code that the code had been changed in music and stuff like that. There was a lot of
yes,
this vibratory stuff.
yes, all this stuff is, well, a lot of things are changing. And so, yeah, things have been changing in music, and all sorts of weird Mandela effects that we're having at the moment, especially. But yeah, so this is like, and all of this other art here is just, this is mainly all the stuff that's in my Magical Dimensions Oracle deck. All of these are, for the most part, all
The
from here
colors are
down.
just stunning,
Yeah,
just stunning.
definitely. I've been hard at work.
No kidding. I mean, I was going to ask you if you sleep, but you said you dream, so
Ugh,
still working when you're.
hardly ever. I'm always dreaming. Not even just that. All of us are really doing 10 jobs, even when we're dreaming, we're doing missions, spiritual missions. We're on, we have so many different things that we're doing. We're getting downloads, we're being taught, we're teaching, we're having these experiences with other people and other places. And then we come home. No wonder why a lot of us are tired when we wake up. Like, I just slept, but I didn't really get a chance to rest. So, and then we are here at our job. But I really decided to just tackle this, like, to embrace everything that I can, even the things that I don't really feel like I want to do, but yet I'm called to do it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at this moment in time, is I'm bringing it anyway.
Well, I'm extremely impressed. I'm sure once I
Stop the
talk to my
share.
assistant Desta, she'll want to maybe do another interview down the road because
Yeah.
she talks about all this stuff all the time. I'm sort of new to this, so I'm sort of watching it. I'm listening. She's really into this kind of stuff. So to wrap up, can you tell me how long you're going to be speaking at Sedona at that event? Have you got a?
I believe if I look, if it's 45 minutes,
Okay.
I believe I for the first year they're giving me 45. I usually only had a half hour. So
Wow.
somebody knew that I must have, because it was hard for me to get through what I
And you
wanted to
have
do
your
in a
art
half
there? Have
hour.
you got a table there for your?
We will not have a table, but yeah, I usually will have some kind of a video playing in the background
Okay.
of my talk that will have all my art just kind of flowing one and the other. And people can always come up and talk to me about that. I do usually have, but we won't have a table, but I will have, some of my art to be able to show as far as on my iPad or any of that kind of stuff I'll have with me. Um, we just are going to be speaking and enjoying the experience. It's usually like a big reunion for everybody, like
Yeah.
a big family reunion where everyone connects with each other, and it's a great experience. So hopefully everybody can make it out, because it's really a powerful time. A lot of great information. All these great speakers that are going to be promoting and really bringing their stuff, like,
Yeah.
to the table, which is really incredible. Every time we come, it's always new and it's always different,
Yeah.
so I'm excited about that.
Well, I'm honored to have been able to interview you, and we will do whatever we can to promote your stuff and your stuff. And I'm sure that we're going to order some stuff, and I'm going to probably spend the
That's
next
awesome.
week or two just studying your stuff. You have an incredible, almost like your husband, you have an incredible depth of knowledge. of this kind
Yeah,
of
well,
stuff that's
thank
kind of
you
new to
very
me.
much. And thank you for having me on here. Anybody can go onto my website, lightstarcreations.com, and check out all the good stuff on there. And yeah, we'll be excited to see what you're going to bring as well to the conference and everybody else as well. And I'd love to be on here anytime you want. I know we didn't get to do the light language activations, which I usually do, but we
Yeah.
can do that next time if you want
But
me to come
you
back
have some
on.
of that online, right? So I can sort of listen to it and,
All of my YouTube
okay.
channel is
What's
like, if you go to me,
your YouTube
yes,
channel? What's your,
yes. It's well, it should just be you can find it by
okay.
Lightstar Creations. I can't remember if it's Lightstar
Yeah.
Creations when you go to YouTube, but you should find me under Lightstar anyways. All of my I have playlists too. So if you want to go to my channel and then go to the playlist, just go to the light language activations, and there's just a list of all of the different ones I've done with light language. So yeah, and then you'll get to get a feel for what it is, feeling what you experience, because that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Everybody does it a little differently with their light language and why they're bringing it, but that's where I just say go with your feeling sense and what you experience from it. Some languages may activate you more than others. Some people don't feel anything from one, but then oh my gosh, you go to another and it's like wow. That's why I have so many of them on there, because eventually it will hit someone with their activation.
I'm eager to get off the interview here and go and check it out. I mean, it's
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me on here. It was a
beautiful.
blessing
And I
to
hope
be
we can do it
here.
again
Yes.
soon. I'll be talking to people, and well, once they
Awesome.
sort of explain the stuff I missed and the questions I should have asked, I'm sure I'm going to want to do it again because I think you have an important message. And
Thank you.
again, I'm honored to have talked to you.
Oh, me too. I'm honored to talk to you.
Beautiful.
So thank you. We'll
Thank you.
talk soon then.
Okay.
Bye
Thank
now.
you. Have a good day.
Bye.